Our daily trading recap here for this Friday, the 22nd of April, 2022. Tough little one on the P&L for intraday, but keeping in perspective, just for me again, on this specific strategy, it's not about what one trade is on one day. It is the collection of what this futures trading strategy is that is taken out over session-wide, over the month-by-month period, over the year-by-year period. That's what this strategy is meant for, and that's the perspective I always have to keep and maintain with this strategy. And it's tough on days like this, especially for what these losses sometimes end up entailing for hard P&L day or just hard percentage-wise days that end up happening on the overall market, showing 2.74% in the red on SPY, which is unfortunate to see, but to Christ be the glory through all of it. Some dollar volume for the day before we get into some individual tickers. Beyond that, NASDAQ $256 billion volume as of 2 hours, 49 minutes after the close. NYSE $381 billion volume. OTC's $1.9 billion volume on the day. Only took two other stabbies on MDVL and VLON. I also want to mention I did take that 930 strategy as well and worked pretty by the hair of my chin within this 5th minute here after market open, 5th minute here after market open. Look for that 2 points above. Fridays, normally maintain that non-trendy, more volatile day aspect to them, but of course this Friday just did not want to follow along with that normal characteristic like most normally do. So was expecting to see coming into this one, we could potentially see a harder down day for how it was closing, just continuing to hold those lows in this overnight future session, and just for how we were opening, just thinking, okay, look out below as we're just continuing to step through new lows here. I was thinking it was not going to be a fun day to be continue holding those longs on my futures and just to try to play out this strategy, but keeping the perspective in mind on all of these things. But yeah, just also interesting to see that we didn't see really any. We saw a little bit of hesitation in the morning session for not so immediate and just hard down selling of the stock, of the index, of the overall market there, but just, still ended up paving its course for the rest of the day there for a big red day today on this Friday. We'll get into MDVL first. This was a ticker I tried to trade. I believe I either tried to trade it yesterday. Got stopped out stupidly in this little pullback here before it just immediately rebounced, found VWAP again, and then started to chop away at higher price action the rest of that day. I still believed there was room in this ticker for a move today to happen. And this was another one that I also used, another anchored VWAP little setup. I'm just totally experimenting with this after seeing Ratani use it a little bit. Not so much that I'm just throwing all of my marbles in one basket, but saying, hey, there could be some little amount of utilization to this tool just to see, hey, where is our average short? Where is our average person from each specific day? So I was considering this Monday, which was hold on here. Okay, so it was, this is a multi-day holder, obviously. We've gone with the fundamentals on this one, but just looking at this daily chart, I originally started this little anchored VWAP setup, say, hey, this was the biggest volume day. This is obviously where the highest collection of volume and stuck, I don't want to say stuck, but bag holder people, whatever position they are, long or short, would potentially be starting that anchored VWAP there. We were getting a little bit below. Price action is still obviously above there, so if they're short, you're obviously still underwater at this point for where price action is currently trading. Longs are obviously in the green at that point, but then basing the dollar volume more off of Monday from just the start of this week to get a more myopic view of, hey, where is less stingy bag holders currently, and where would they be likely to get out because it is the end of the week if price started to reach certain points here? Is it anywhere relevant at all whatsoever? So sure enough, if we're starting it just from that 930 point to take in all the volume for this week, it's just right under, that line is right under where price was today. So saying that as we come into the open, shorts are still underwater if they're still holding from what happened yesterday, or if they got in more on this little push and failure back down to VWAP that happened yesterday in that. So it is, of course, a lot to ask for things in stocks to just continue to keep pushing and pumping over and over again for how many times this one has gone up and then come back down and gone up and come back down and then gone up and come back down. To ask it again of, hey, you want to go up another time and then we can just continue to stay up there just because I'm in it this time? That's the only thing that matters because I'm in it, and then I can make money out of it too. But just continuing to play the chart that it's there and experimenting with myself and what I see in trades and just doing something different, because a lot of these last few longs that I've just continued to take have really not found any amount of substance or marks or just profitability. I said it in the last one yesterday too, last day of training recap, of I sure know how to take very small losses and to cut losses quickly. I don't think that is a problem for me, but it's just about I need to be in the correct winners. I need to be picking these before they actually happen and not just trying to, with like these first two entries that I got in this trade here, trying to buy the tops. And I do commend myself for saying, okay, now I'm not so, I was allowing a little bit of room since I didn't have that much cash to trade with in the very beginning in my cash account of starting in very small, but saying, hey, I'm willing to let it have a little bit of pullback because I want it to be looking good for shorts. I want more shorts to be coming in this one saying, oh, yes, it's death, it's dying, it's bleeding, or now it's back, making me green on neutral. If we're looking at this still from the anchored view app perspective, that there's a lot of the average short would then potentially be looking green as I was sizing in potentially right around that. It doesn't have to be this hard specific line of 287, just under 29 here that it was showing here that I have it set at. But just using that area as a reference of, hey, maybe we're pulling back down to there, giving some people hope, and maybe they're sizing in just even a little bit more, or just taking a little bit of their foot off the pedal to say, okay, now it's coming back down a little bit. I just don't have to be so concerned, especially for what happened yesterday. That type of price action looking a little bit scary. But starting in just very small to say, oh, hey, I think volume's coming in here and these minute candles that we're breaking to new relative highs, that we could start testing this little regional high, once again, the 320 range. Okay, I think volume's coming in there. Okay, nope, not in that candle. Oh, hey, I think we have another actual breakout here on decent-ish volume. Okay, whoop, it is not there. Started to pull off pretty hard, and thinking I was buying the dip with these continual entries here of, okay, now price is moving pretty quickly, but we're still maintaining. Okay, we broke low of day here, but we're still maintaining. It's not just completely panicking, dying off. Obviously, if I can see that price action, that's going to be a key sign to, okay, price is going down. I don't want to be a part of this. It's a falling knife. But as we're basing a little bit here, right in this range, I'm getting more convicted to say that's the type of death that I want to see, of the rejection that happened yesterday. It's holding a little bit. It looks like a nice little perk for more shorts to size themselves into. And then that death is to say, okay, yeah, now that's very enticing and appetizing for a short to be a part of this final death move of this little multi-day run, to look to the downside there, look for the panic, for this price action to reclaim back to the average or back to the mean. Using that as mainly my long thesis for how this little pattern and range was developing there, right close to around that little consolidation range, around that 2.9 price level-ish. And then we broke to low of day, and I had to stop in, set around there, and sure enough, it just collected me as soon as it possibly could and immediately rebounced right back in that range and then jumped back to view app again. But that was a fake out in itself too. There was nothing beyond that of just being a fake out, reclaiming back to view app for a little bit. Had some little tiny volume spikes there in between, but continued to jump back to a new low of day and just piddling around for the rest of the afternoon there. So took a little bit bigger of a loss than I think I was necessarily anticipating, just percentage-wise. I think, obviously, if I had come into this trade seeing price, not having watched it hold a little bit off of the morning little trading range there, then it start perking, and then thinking I'm getting in with volume as it's starting to break out. If the trade had just totally been establishing a trade in this consolidation range based on that little anchored VWAP level, what I came in the day with kind of anticipating for, I think it obviously would have been a far greater risk reward setup and easier cut, or easier even hold for it to fake out to a new bottom and then let it have a little run its course. And then this being the full sentiment that, okay, if it's doing this multiple times, I definitely don't want to be a part of it. And that's an overwhelming statement to say this trade is not going to happen the way I think I was planning it for how it was to work out today. But it's just learning lessons all the way through, and keeping a small size. It wasn't about how much money I could be making from this specific trade on this one. Like I had any amount of former charts on this to compare this to say, oh, these types of charts have done this specific or exact type of thing. So that's why I'm going to use bigger sizes in this one, because I've convicted on it and I can see it happening so much more. It's just totally, trying to stretch myself or broaden my horizons to say, gosh, I normally wouldn't really take a trade like this, or this is kind of just a new or unique idea for me, but I could certainly see something happening here. So just testing the waters that way and using this as a vehicle to do so. And learning lessons all the way through. And that's all I can ask of myself. That is the only failure that ever happened today through the futures loss through these losses here would be me not learning something from them. And so I take that to heart and just continue to grind away and grow in each and every single opportunity that I have. So the next one that I did take, not that one. Last one I did take was a little stabby on VLON for this nice little continuation strategy, this little scalpy strategy that I feel I've noticed more and more on these types of first screen day movers. And I'm going to remove this little steady anchor VWAP. There we go. When these first screen day movers, for whatever float they are, this one specifically 3.2 million floater, super low float. News Catalyst was announcing review of strategic alternatives, blah, 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 whatever stupidity. Getting nice price action, really the only key mover today, as Fridays don't really produce many substantial first screen day moves similar to this. But when they get price action that really doesn't ever break VWAP after that initial news spike, and they just continue to rip, and they're opening market hours at or right near the high of day for the spike, I feel like I've seen it, and I want to develop the charts on this now for the type of price action that happens within the 1 to 2 minutes after that type of chart, because I feel it's been time and time again that they always just tend to be 3, 4, 5% easy that happens just within those first 1 or 2 minutes. And it's not, that is not a trade whatsoever that really can establish a very nice risk reward or something that I can recognize on the level 2 retirement sales. It's just something posthumously that, looking at the charts and saying, okay, wow, I've seen these, I don't want to buy them. The smart me before I started doing this trader kind of noticing that said, oh gosh, they're just continuing to squeeze. And then during market hours, they would just continue to squeeze a little bit more. And I'm handcuffed, I can't buy them because that would be chasing, and you don't know how much further they're going to go up. But they also just do that time and time and time again. So I'm not trying to make this like a beautiful trade, but I want to look at it kind of similarly to maybe a Warrior Trading or Ross Scalpy, but I'm a little bit more hands off of it, that I'm just establishing my position. I'm set. I'm ready with my limit orders in. I was setting it like 2.6 that I had limit orders in few seconds before market open, just ready to let price run into me. Not that I was judging anything off of level 2 or time and sales, but then kind of setting a close stop, around 2-3 to say, if it starts tanking, then I definitely want to keep myself accountable. I don't want to just let it run and hold myself to a time stop of just waiting for the minute candle to run out and say, oh shoot, well it didn't happen, or I kind of screwed myself and this thing's already back down at $2 by that point, to develop a risk reward that way. But the conviction on this one is there. I think I can certainly start taking a bigger size on this type of scalpy trade, just a very quick and easy, dirty, repeatable, consistent pattern that when these things have the very nice dollar volume, I want to say pre-market dollar volume shown here, $63 million volume we showed in pre-market today at 114% change from the previous trading day close. So with those types of variables and a super low floatiness, and for that key metric that I want to identify of opening market hours right near high of day, shorts are kind of forced to cover. The big shorts that are potentially still stuck in this thing from any trading they're trying to do in pre to get a position already, some are forced to liquidate right in that very liquid market open, and that forces just enough amount of scalpage as a long to be a part of. And set it, forget it. Don't try to force anything more out of it or suggest that it's going to continue to go that way for the rest of the market day, or that there is any pattern out of that. But that's just something, a little playbook trade that I feel I've developed or seen more and more. So may start taking a bigger stabs on it with bigger size on that little scalpy move there. So that was a nice one to be part of. Little, I think $8 in total that was, of 3.5%. And I even pulled, as I was not getting $2.6 in that first minute candle, I just kind of held it back as price was kind of stalling out a little bit around 2.5. I said, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and take it. I think 2.4, right around 2.4 was my entry, average entry to size in before market open. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'll take my 10 cents just for that little tiny scalp. That is all that it ever is, and I'm not going to try to overstay my welcome with these ones or try to absolutely nail the top. It's just kind of a crapshoot, whatever I can get, and then fine-tune it from there if the market environment over time just continues to say, hey, there's more room up top, or you're forcing a little bit too much and you're not getting filled at certain prices. There's a little fine-tune adjustments I can do there with that. But good little fun experiment with that one today, and likely I'm going to like to see what happens in the future with that specific trade. That was all I had. Just again coming at these hard 2 down selling days on SPY overall. We will see where we find any amount of support over these next coming days here, or what that likes to produce for ES futures action if we do see any amount of upward price action. Of course, it's just so easy to say, oh, it's got to happen at some point. There's got to be some amount of buying at some point. And that's what I was saying this entire day, and then sure enough, it just was never there ever. So we'll see if over the next few days, next week, we see some amount of bounce coming out of here. It's hard to suggest that it's just going to continue to carry the same slope without any significant news catalyst like a COVID-19 2.0 coming out again to produce something similar to what happened back in March 2020, right? But that is the market, right? It's just going to continue to be whatever it wants to be and doesn't care what anybody else thinks about it. So we will continue to play along with that and judge it for what it is. So I sincerely thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you guys on the next one.